Thomas Aquinas, Justice, and the Ten Commandments. Thomas Aquinas was one of the most important theologians and philosophers in the history of Christianity. He is considered a doctor of the Church, a title given to very few. He lived from 1225 to 1274. He joined the Dominican order and was ordained a priest. He taught at the universities of Cologne and Paris and held numerous other posts as a theologian, philosopher, and biblical scholar. After 1265 he began to write the Summa Theologiae, or Theologica, a summary of Christian theology intended for what he called beginning students. If you have ever tried to tackle the Summa, you start realizing that students must have been a whole lot smarter than you or I. So why Thomas Aquinas and the Ten Commandments? After all, Aquinas lived long after the writing of the Bible. In the Summa, Aquinas wrote extensively on justice. He devotes 66 questions to issues relating to justice, which in the ancient and medieval worlds was considered one of the most important of the virtues. He was influenced by the work of classical philosophers, whose ideas were much closer to the Bible than modern views are, but most prominently by the Scriptures. Most of what he says can be found in Scripture, but he sets it out in great detail and makes clear what the issues are. Using his work as a lens, we can look at the Ten Commandments and notice things we might otherwise miss, given that, in general, our ideas about justice tend to be somewhat narrowly concerned with criminal justice and social justice. The resources that are available, there are many about Thomas Aquinas and his work. The questions in which he deals with justice are questions 57 through 122 in the Summa, in the Secunda Secundae. I have also posted a couple of videos put out by the Thomistic Institute that briefly summarize justice and the potential parts of justice. It is important to consider his anthropology, in other words, what it means to be human. For Aquinas, the human person is by nature a social and political animal. The human person always and everywhere finds him or herself as part of some society. There is no time in someone's life in which they appear as an isolated or mere individual. This is in accord with biblical anthropology, but it is at odds with much modern political theory. In the 16th to 18th centuries, theorists such as Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau started with the free, unattached person who must give up some freedom in order to participate in society. By contrast, for Aquinas and for the Bible, human life is inherently relational. Because humans are relational, every act must be guided by the moral virtues, justice, fortitude, and temperance. Justice is the virtue that establishes us in right relation with others. Justice is defined as the perpetual and constant will to render each one their due. The concern of justice is not with the self, but with the other. So what is due to another? Some claims are established by nature, such as the right to life, the right to livelihood that makes it possible to receive nourishment and other goods that support life, and the right to bring children into the world through marriage, care for them, and educate them. Aquinas describes three types of justice: general or legal justice, that is what an individual owes to the political community; distributive justice, what the political community owes to the individual; and commutative justice, what an individual owes to another individual. Some of the Ten Commandments involve commutative justice, that is, what one owes to another individual, and deal with those rights or claims that are based on the nature of what it means to be human. The command, "You shall not kill," addresses the natural right to life. "You shall not steal," and "You shall not covet your neighbor's house," etc., addresses the right to have access to those goods which sustain life. "You shall not commit adultery," and "You shall not covet your neighbor's wife," addresses the right to marry and have children by that marriage. Committing adultery threatens the marriage bond and the integrity of the family. "You shall not bear false witness" also has the potential to threaten someone's life and livelihood. This could happen in a trial in which one accused another of a crime that would lead to that person being either killed or made to pay restitution. It could also happen by spreading false rumors about a person's character or actions. If one follows those commandments, this leads to an order in which giving the other his or her due leads to a certain kind of equality. However, there are those to whom we owe more than can be repaid. In other words, there are relationships that are not equal. In those cases we practice the virtues of veneration, religion, piety, and observance. Religion, which is defined as interior and exterior acts of worship, renders God his due. We owe our life to God, and therefore we offer our worship and praise because of his great goodness. Piety renders parents and country their due. After God, parents and country have given us an abundance of riches that we could not have provided for ourselves. While we may disagree with our parents or our country, we cannot opt out from the love and gratitude we owe them. Observance or respect gives to our superiors what is due them. These superiors would be people like your boss or your employer, or the leader of an organization to which you belong. In the Ten Commandments, religion is expressed in the commands, "You shall have no other gods before me," "You shall not make for yourself an image," "You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God," "Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy." All of these are ways of honoring and worshiping God and putting him first in the ordering of one's life. Piety is shown in the commandment to honor your father and your mother. By extension, this can be applied to all those who take part in bringing us up and caring for us. There is, of course, much more to justice than this very brief description and comparison. There are the questions about what to do when justice fails, and we see this in much of the text of Exodus through Deuteronomy, as well as in the prophets. Aquinas addresses this in his questions on vindication. What does one do when a wrong has been committed? How is restoration brought about? How is the social order renewed so that it is good and healthy? I invite you to further listen to the videos that I posted, although it is not required. If you are really interested, you might at some point in your life be brave and tackle all of the 66 questions that Aquinas sets out.